What's the deal, family? Welcome back to another episode of Sips of Success. This is another good day. How are we doing today?
Good. How are you?
Good. Again, I'm Cameron, and this is my beautiful wife, Erin.
Aaron. What are we sipping on?
We are sipping on mocktail.
Because it's dry January.
Dry January, even though I already had one drink.
Terrible. It's like a moist. Okay, that doesn't sound good. I was gonna say moist January. It's like a what? Drip drop Jan for you. That still doesn't sound right.
She's not doing good.
Okay, let me not. Let me just stop while I'm behind.
In this mocktail, it is it's rather healthy. I found a recipe. I don't know who the credit is to give to because there was no person's name, but it's grapefruit juice, and then there's a thyme syrup. Yes, because Cameron
literally calls everything a simple syrup. I'm like, babe, it's not simple if it's not just water and sugar.
So not so simple. It's a thyme syrup. Yeah, and then topped with sparkling water.
Did you use the coconut water?
Not for this one.
Oh, okay.
It'll be the next mocktail.
It's good. It's refreshing and it tastes fresh because he used fresh grapefruit. So
everything fresh.
It's really good.
Made the syrup myself. You know what I'm saying?
Good job, babe. Way to go.
Down there doing something. But,
okay, this or that. Would you rather not have air conditioning or heat for the rest of your life, or not have internet for the rest of your life?
I done been without heat and air conditioning before, so majority to this point, I would say more than my lifetime to this point. So I'm gonna have to go with I'll take the internet and I
agree. I thought about it for a little while, but I'm like, also we could move somewhere that's relatively mild, so that way. Because like Michigan with no heat is just not gonna work.
Yeah, nah.
That just wouldn't work. So I would have to live somewhere at least during the wintertime that we don't need.
Wait, can I clarify? Did I say I didn't have heat?
Yeah, you.
No, I've had heat.
Yeah, I'm like,
I didn't have.
You didn't have air.
Air, like central air.
Yeah. So I would need to move somewhere, but I would be willing to do that because like my career is online. Like we make our money and our life online. So we would need the internet. I honestly don't know what you would do in 2022 2024. Oh my gosh. Wow. I'm 2 years back. I don't know what you would really do now unless you lived in
a hole.
Yeah, or you just had this lifestyle where you're kind of like just living in a more secluded type of life. You don't really live.
It ain't that many people living like that. I mean,
I know. When we went to Hawaii, we did this thing called the Road to Hana, and there were people like civilians who lived on the Road to Hana, and they just had completely offline lives, like no phones, no nothing.
Yeah.
Just completely secluded. And I feel like you kind of have to live like that. Like that's the lifestyle that you enjoy. If you just have to not have any access to the internet.
Yeah, I feel like places like that you might run into more people than like in I don't want to say it's not normal, but you know what I'm saying? Like I guess in a regular city or whatever.
Right, exactly. Like a metropolitan city.
Yeah, you're not about to run into somebody who's just like, oh yeah. I live
in the Detroit,
middle of nowhere.
Right?
Detroit, yeah, like that's.
I live in Detroit, but I don't, but I could live without internet for the rest of my life.
I mean, we did live without internet for the first like half of our lives, just because we were the first generation to really get, I guess.
Yeah, because it was invented during our lifetime.
So, but I mean, but now we can't because our life is created, and we need internet. We need the internet.
Yeah, we need internet. So. Okay, well, what do you guys think? Would you rather live without heat and air conditioning or without the internet? And obviously, you're watching this podcast on the internet or listening to it with the internet.
Yeah, so we couldn't even give you this if we didn't have internet. No upload.
Oh my gosh. But anyway, so what are we talking about today? Because the title is kind of juicy.
Long story short, we separated almost immediately after we got married.
Yeah, it was really, really sad, you guys. Like, really sad. But probably not in the way that you're thinking. So we need to tell the whole story. So we're building our house, right? We start, as soon as we get engaged, we start our building process.
Let's give date time. So 2019, November of 2019,
we got engaged. Yes.
They hit the ground running.
Everything
They're planning
was
a
great.
wedding. We're going to see venues all the way up until like end of January of 2020. Then
yep, we solidified our venue. I picked my wedding dress, like all the things. We also thought we found a house, but we ended up not going with that condo. We ended up, that kind of fell through. So we were kind of back in the looking for a house market. We didn't want to live together before we got married, but we were like about to get married. So we were looking for a house. So where, COVID hits, right?
Yeah.
We found this house. We found this lot. And we started building the house in February? It's like February.
We started the process in February. The building started in March, and then
COVID hit.
COVID had already hit, but it hit to the extent
it shut down. Everything.
That's when everything shut down. So the whole month of April, nothing happened. Like there was
built.
No production to our house,
which was horrible. So our house was supposed to be done in October. Because they said it would take roughly 6 to 7 months to be done.
Yeah.
Was it supposed to be done in September?
I don't know. I know.
It was supposed to be done before it was done.
No, wait, just step back just a tad bit. Our initial wedding date was supposed to be New Year's Eve of 2020. Obviously, all of that got canceled.
Mm-hmm.
So whether the house would have been done September, October, or November, which we would have been fine with, because of our initial wedding date, we had to switch plans and get a new date. And our new date was in October.
Right.
So because it was in October.
Yeah. So our wedding ends up getting moved up and our house timeline ends up getting pushed back because we had COVID. And so, we didn't have COVID, but COVID was here. Yeah.
The pandemic started.
The reason why we moved our wedding up was because, for one, I'm like, I don't know. We don't know when this is all going to be over. So to push it back a whole nother year also didn't make sense to us because we didn't even think it was going to last this long. So God only knows how long this is still going to be going on. And we also hadn't put that much money down on the venue. So even though it was non-refundable, it was still worth it.
They ended up giving us half back or
No.
something? Oh, they didn't give us anything back?
No.
I thought they did for some reason. Or maybe they didn't.
No.
Yeah, we probably would never support them again, actually.
Yeah. So anyway, we're like, okay, we're just gonna cancel because at this point I'd rather not spend another tens of thousands. I'd rather lose that money that we put down. So we end up moving our wedding up so that once we made a game time decision. We were like, Cameron was like, why don't we just wait until the house is done, have our immediate family inside of, have a little wedding inside of our house with just our immediate families, like our siblings and our parents. And I'm like, babe, I got this dress. I'm not trying to wear this dress for just 8 people, basically. So we made a last minute decision to basically have a wedding at his aunt's house, which turned out to be very beautiful. But we kind of pulled the date out of a hat. We were like, okay, maybe the house will be done by this date. And Cameron was like, babe, okay. I was like, okay, I want to have something. I want to do the best possible wedding that we can do under these circumstances. I'm not trying to have no in our house wedding. So he was like, okay, but just know that if our house isn't done,
No, I said our house would not be done.
Yeah, he was very certain that our house wouldn't be done. I'm more of the optimist. He's more of the realist. So I'm like, it might be and even if it's not, I would rather still have the wedding and sacrifice a few weeks or a month of us, kind of trying to figure that time out before we move in the house. Because the way I was looking at it is, we gonna move in the house at some point soon, Mm-hmm. So, Lord have mercy. The wedding gets here and our house is not done. And we're like, what are we going to do? We didn't at that point want to not be together, but we had nowhere to go because my parents had just moved out of their house because they were building a house and they sold their house. And his parents, they don't have the space to accommodate both of us. So we were like, what are we going to do? So then what did we do?
So we got this little apartment, and let me tell you,
that's what we call it, the little apartment.
Yeah, let me tell you this real quick. This is something I feel like in my lifetime, I'll say that I'll never do something, or like I'm just not, and then guy be like, all right, you just keep on living. Mm-hmm. I mean, since we've met, I always tell Aaron, I'm like, I'm never getting an apartment. Like, it's just, I don't know, I don't see the point in it. That's not something that I desire. Now, there is nothing against apartments, nothing at all. It's just something that I said I would never do.
Yeah.
Fast forward, we married. We got to get an apartment. No, because our house is not done.
Yeah.
But really, this apartment is like
it's like an extended stay.
For corporate businesses, like when people don't live in a like city, you can go here and stay there while you're working.
Yeah, but it wasn't so, because we were considering like, okay, I don't want to pay $200-$300 a night
at a hotel.
Because like we didn't know how much longer it was going to take for our house to be done. So we stayed in a nice hotel on our wedding night, and I'm like, okay, well, we might as well go to the extended stay place the next day, because who's about to keep paying for this hotel? So we go, my friend, she was like, oh, I know this extended stay place. Like, they have them all over the country. Like, they're so nice. So we get there. I book it for a week because I'm like, it's at least going to be a week. And we still didn't have a closing date by the end of the week. But when we got in the apartment, it had like this weird stench. I will never forget how that place smelled. We walked in there, and I'm just like, the bed was like so little. The mattress was so terrible.
The bed was like the width of like from here to this arm.
I think it was like a full-size bed. It was very...
it wasn't enough. Compact. I mean, we could both fit in there. We're not like big people or anything, but like it still was not ideal.
Yeah.
And then the room was also like the wall
was so small.
Like you just
had to like shuffle to get to your side of the
like
bed.
Went in there just to like.
So we're like, okay, we're gonna make this work for a week, whatever. I'm like disinfecting everything, covered the couch because like, I'm like, I don't know I hate hotel couches because it's just, like they just make me itch. I'm like, I don't know what's happened on this couch. They don't clean them. So like I put sheets and blankets from our places over top of the couches. And literally those 2 weeks, like we spent as little time in there as possible. We were going out to eat. We were doing all kind of stuff. Like, going to visit family, like we just doing stuff because it was just so...
Mind you, it's still the pandemic. So like...
Yeah. So stuff was still shut down, social distancing, like all of that. So...
And we grocery shopped. This was like we went to the grocery store to get like little stuff, not like real...
Oh, yeah. Because I never cooked in there because I didn't trust the kitchen.
Yeah, this was kind of like one of those things why I didn't want an apartment. It's not anything that anyone probably thinks, but like my first thought was like, I'm carrying up all of these bags, and we had to carry up a suitcase. Yeah. I'm like, bro, I'm going up 7 flights of, we went up the elevator or whatever, but still, it's kind of like that thought process. I just rather go right into a front door or the back door and put my stuff down. We
probably could have got an Airbnb in hindsight. I don't know why we didn't just do that, but... Because we would have had more space.
No, I think we thought about it. I think we thought about staying in that one spot that we had done the black and gold event at before.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was actually booked. I'm pretty sure we looked.
Yeah. So basically, we stayed for a week, and we're like, okay, the house still isn't done. So I extended it for another week because the builder was like, we don't have a closing date. And I'm like, we need a closing date. Like, what in the world is going on? We're coming to visit the house. The house is basically done.
It's basically completed. Yeah. Like, we can't tell what's...
And during this time, though, there were little things that we just kept running into. Like, our appliances were, back ordered. And everything during this time was back ordered, like everything. Yeah. So our appliances that I really wanted were back like months and months. And they were like, you can't move in unless you have appliances. Like they have to be installed or it won't pass inspection.
Yeah.
So long story short, we end up getting the floor models. They end up selling us the floor models, which is kind of biting us in the butt now. But we were like, whatever, just give us what you have. We need to move into this house. Another week goes by, still nothing, no close date. So at that point, we're like, okay, babe, first of all, we hate being in here. And second of all, like we're just like throwing money away. Yeah. Like we've got to buy furniture, we've got to do this, we've got to do that for this new house. What are we going to do? So what do? We separated.
We separated. Yeah, no, we separated for sure. What a marriage. What a marriage.
So 2 weeks. He went back. Yeah. So,
I went back home and she went to her aunt and uncle's basement.
Yes, where my parents were living staying at the time. Y'all, when I tell you.
Did you cry every day?
I cried. I probably cried every day. My mom said, I was just telling her because she was asking what we were talking about today. Uh-huh. She was like, oh, yeah, you had the worst attitude during that week. She was like, but I felt so bad for you because you were just so sad you couldn't be with your little husband. And I was like, I know. It was just horrible. Like, I was miserable. I was just crying.
And I'm over here talking to the builders every day, going up to the offices and trying to like get us in this house.
Just trying. So that is why we had to separate, and we were married but back living with our parents for a week because our house just wasn't done. And he was like, babe, see, this is what I told you. Like, I mean,
did I say it?
You didn't say I told you so like that, yeah. But you was kind of like, this is what we're dealing with now because we were already used to living in the circumstances that we were in before we got married. But it's something different about like once you get married, you just expect your life to move forward, and it just felt like, why are we going through this? Like, why is God doing this to us? We done been good.
I was treading lightly. I did not have a I told you so moment, even though I was definitely thinking
you were thinking it for sure.
And I don't know. The reality is also once you're married is, because I told her, I was going up there every day. I think about 4 days, they finally gave us a closing date. But I was literally up there every day, calling every day, making sure the house had everything in it. Because my parents live closer. But anyway, it's just something that I need to do anyway. She wasn't going to do all that. But every day on it, 1, 2, and 3. By that Thursday, we had a close. Actually, we closed Friday. Yeah. That Friday. Let me tell you how crazy this was. Aaron does not. I don't think Aaron has ever driven a U-Haul. Aaron, I tell her, I'm like, hey, the close date is tomorrow. She's like, oh, okay, what we gotta do? I was like, well, we gotta go get a U-Haul. I'm already packed up all my stuff. I'll come get yours. So she's like, oh, don't worry, I'll put my stuff in my dad's car. And then because I forget what I had to do, but I couldn't get the U-Haul. She's like, okay, I'll go get the U-Haul.
On it.
I was like, oh.
You ain't got to say nothing but a word, baby. I am on it.
She drove this U-Haul.
I drove the U-Haul.
For the whole day.
I'm literally like in my cute little closing outfit in this U-Haul. Because he came over the night before to help put all of my stuff in it. Yeah. Y'all, it was a journey. But I look back on those times. Honestly, quite frankly, I forget about that little stint because it was just so annoying. And I really feel like the start of our marriage was when we moved into this house. Yeah. But I do look back on those times and just kind of laugh because I feel like it showed us how much, especially given how much we had been through with the wedding and how much that just kind of took a turn. It was just kind of the cherry on top with the little apartment situation.
It's like what else could have went worse?
Yeah, but it just showed me how much like we be on the same page and how much we just like, okay, this is the hand we're dealt. Like, how are we gonna play it the best we can, basically? Yeah. And that's just how we move with everything. And just entering into marriage and knowing that, okay, there is always gonna be something. There may always be something. I won't say there always will be something, but there may be things that come up, and it's just like, how do you handle it?
Yeah, what's your attitude toward
it? Yeah, what's your attitude toward it? And like, what's the smartest way to navigate this thing? And I feel like we handled that situation pretty well. Yeah. Even though, I had my moments, but it was just what it was, you know? So, yeah, that's our little apartment story. I feel like no one really knows that. Like, we really was out here roughing it those first 3 weeks of marriage.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Yeah.
It was, definitely
but
crazy.
What would you say is something that you kind of learned from that experience?
Learned?
Or did you learn anything from it? Was it just like, oh, let's just get through this?
I don't know if I feel like I don't learn until like I keep like moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like when I look back at like moments like that, it's like, what was the lesson in that? So I can't say in that moment I learned something,
right.
But it's kind of like what you already said basically is, so even now, especially like even today with like different stuff that has already happened in January for us, but it's like your attitude has always has to be positive. Like you have to go in. Now, it's not to say that you can't be mad when something initial happens, but it's like, okay, well, this happened anyway already, and I get it. You have two choices. You either can say, I'm gonna just lay in this misery, or you're gonna say, all right, you know what, this is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
Let me make magic out of this.
Right.
Because you're able to get out of anything. Mm-hmm. If you put your mind to it. So
yeah,
I think that's just my overall lesson in life in general. I think that's not even the first time something like this has happened in a way. So I feel like if you're used to little mishaps, maybe, then you'll probably get adjusted quicker to getting through those things.
Yeah. And the thing that sucks about stuff like this, when things are just so uncertain, I feel like that was a very like uncertain time in our lives.
But not even just for us, it was for the world.
The world.
Yeah.
Like with COVID, everything was uncertain. And then with our house, like everything was uncertain. And I know like that feeling of just kind of having a little bit extra faith to be like, okay, like it's gonna work out. But it just, in that moment, it just feels like, like it sucks,
Yeah, I mean, now even from keeping the faith, we knew that it would work out. It's just a matter of being patient. It's a matter of standing strong in whatever your situation is and making sure that you do see it through. Yeah. I mean, that's all you can do. Mm-hmm. It's either you're gonna see it through or you're gonna quit. So
yeah. True.
It's no other way of putting it. I feel like those are always the main two options in probably all of our lives. Is you either see something through or you give up on it. Yeah. And it was no way that we were about to give up. Not for sure, not our marriage, but definitely not on something that we've built.
Exactly. Yeah. And then what I do love about this whole experience is that it made moving into our house and closing that day, it just made it feel so much better. Like, I really feel like that made us appreciate it on a whole new level. Yeah. Opposed to like if it was done like right in the nick of time, like obviously we would have been so grateful, like, oh my God, thank God, like it was done right in time. But even the day that we picked our wedding for like was perfect because it was like 72 and sunny and like the perfect fall day. And
literally the next weekend, I think it's
the next weekend that we considered doing it, because I was like, okay, maybe we should push it back a week because then maybe it's closer to the day that the house will be done. Yeah. But I just felt like that day that we picked, I'm like, no, because we already picked it. We need to just stick to the day we picked. And I'm so glad we did. So it all ends up working out.
When we look back on the things that I feel like we tried our best to focus on what good was happening. Yeah. So the wedding that we had was still amazing. Even though we didn't have the desired wedding we planned to have, the wedding we did have was still amazing. Yeah. Even though we had to move into the little apartment, we had somewhere to live. Exactly. So it's kind of like how, how you look at stuff kind of determines your outcome. So exactly.
So on Instagram, we'll put pictures. I think I have a few pictures of the little apartment.
I didn't take nothing.
I made us take a selfie, and I think I did a little tour of the place. You did? I think so. So we'll post that, and we'll post a couple wedding pictures so you guys can see like how our wedding turned out. But yeah, well, cheers to that. Here we are now. Life has moved on. We've been in this house for like 3 years now. 3 years. And life is just good. So yeah. Well, that was fun. Let us know what you guys would have done in this situation. Like,
or if you got married during 2020 when you didn't, everything was out of our control. So,
but you know what? Micro weddings are a thing now. Like, they are all over TikTok, all over social media, where people are like, skip the big old fancy weddings where it cost me $50,000 to $100,000. Like, I'm just gonna do something small and intimate, and they really be making these micro weddings or elopement look so sexy and so cool. And people are really kind of jumping on this trend because a lot of times we realize that the wedding just goes by so fast. You end up, exhausted.
Yeah.
And some people have big weddings and they're beautiful and people love them, but on the flip side, it comes with its fair share of stresses and just all this stuff. So now looking back, we're just so thankful for the wedding that we did end up having because it just turned out so perfect. So
it was literally perfect. I don't think we could ask for anything better.
Yeah.
But also shout out to Uncle Joe and Aunt Karen for allowing us to use their backyard for Aaron's bridal shower or our bridal shower.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's
my bridal shower.
Yeah, I don't know if that's for us or not. But
our family stepped in. Yeah. Like, that whole season of our lives, like his aunt and uncle.
And then Uncle Dave and Auntie Marilyn, they provided their backyard for our actual ceremony and reception. So shout out to those two. Both of our families always step in wherever needed, and we're very appreciative of them always.
Yeah.
And the experience that they allowed us to have.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Because your girl was going to be wearing my dress more than a few little folks.
And I was already in the mindset like, we ain't got to have no way. I'm just
you just trying to get married.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
But anyway, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode.
Yeah. And again, I think on Spotify you should be able to leave a review. And then we haven't really figured that out yet.
Yeah, I don't know how to leave a review on Spotify. It's so confusing.
But if you're listening on Spotify, leave a review, leave a rating or whatever, and then also Apple Podcasts. And I think this week we're going to also start uploading to Google because some people have been asking, can they listen on Google? So I think I'm going to set that up. So, and if you're also watching and listening here on YouTube, thank you for your support. Leave a comment, let us know what you would do in this situation, and also would you take the heat and condition or air conditioning
or the internet.
Like, what would you do? So if you rock with me, then you rock with us. We'll see you on the next one.
Bye.